Today I'm here to tell you a story about my mom. That's it, nothing fancy, just a story about my mom and her impact on my life. The story starts about 15 and a half years ago when my mom birthed me, a crying and fragile boy, and in doing so she produced yet another mouth to feed and another responsibility to take care of in this cruel, harsh world. Just like any other baby, I would slurp and drip my food, speak complete gibberish that my mom could somehow understand, and of course, pee. But all of these annoying actions never influenced my mom to throw me out of the house, like how she would now if I failed my AP tests. She still loved me. My mom would drive the insane half-hour drive from our house to my school every day for 12 years, work an extremely strenuous and tiring job, and then drive the same half-hour drive home. She would cook delicious meals consisting of nutritional ingredients and would help me with any problems presented in my life. There was even one time when, in the span of 1 year, my mom would take me to Disneyland 18 times. 18 times she drove me 27 miles to Disneyland in Anaheim and back, for a grand total of 972 miles, only from taking me to and from Disneyland in 1 year. During these numerous trips to Disneyland, I would always force my mom to ride nauseous roller coasters at least 6 to 8 times. At least 6 to 8 times each, which never failed to make her face go green. But she held on for me, holding in that gut-wrenching feeling every single time we went on Matterhorn, or Space Mountain, California Screaming, or any of those other roller coasters. And eventually, she too got the thrill of roller coasters. On top of these personal problems, she would also go above and beyond, helping not only me, but others to accomplish and overcome goals within their life, which showed me that a mother's love and generosity isn't just for the family, but it's for everyone. In other words, my mom was truly an ubermensch, or a superman, or technically a superwoman. However, as I grew older and faced the exponentially increasing stress of academics, my mother's relationship with me became more and more distant. The alluring pull of video games like League of Legends and Overwatch, and the amount of time I poured into these games almost completely severed my relationship with my mom. For example, I would start a regular 30 to 45-minute match of League of Legends, and right at the beginning, my mom would call me for dinner. And instead of abandoning the game like a good child that I'm supposed to be, and joining the family in a communal dining experience, I would stay isolated on my computer and finish the match, after which I would go eat dinner 30 to 45 minutes late. The tons of schoolwork that had to be completed, the debilitating pressure of needing to obtain an A, the onset of a scientific phenomenon known as puberty, and this obsession, if you will, for video games could only lead to one result: the disintegration of the relationship between my mom and I mean, I started yelling and snapping back at my mom whenever I didn't get what I wanted. And my temper against not only my mom, but the rest of my family started to flare. Despite these terrible times, my mom still acted out of the interest of my well-being, forcing me to partake in certain activities that I absolutely hated just so I could be better. She constantly forced me out of my comfort zone and pushed me to be self-sustaining and generous to others. But because of these actions towards me and my inability to see beyond the action into the intent, I had essentially severed a very deep bond between my mom and I that had been built up over years of bonding. Eventually, however, I recognized the wrongness of my ways and actions, and as a result, my relationship with my mom and the rest of my family began to recover. I began to recognize that maybe I was actually wrong for once, and that choosing video games over my mom and the family was probably not right, despite how fun video games are. I also realized that shockingly, academic studies are not everything, and that time and interaction with the family was also extremely important. But above that, and most importantly, I learned that my mom never stopped loving me, even through that time when I became overwhelmed with video games and academics. To me, a mother's love is neither finite nor rational. My mother never stopped carrying me after a certain number of years, and she never acted out of pure logic. She never said, oh, I loved you this much, now I can't love you anymore. Instead, and we're going philosophical here, I realized that a mother's love is biologically irrational. And whether harsh or kind, it can't be quantified and can only be emotionally felt. Despite this irrationality, one thing is certain. A mom's love is eternal. Thank you very much.
I love my mom when she cooks for me. I love my mom when she is pretty. I love my mom when she smiles. My mom is the best mom in the world. These are the words that 7-year-old me scribbled onto a card and gifted to my mother on Mother's Day in 2nd grade. I remember her taking the card, which was covered in finger paint and stickers, from my hands as if it was her most prized possession. I remember her showering me with hugs and kisses and enthusiastically telling me how much she loved the card. 8 years later, a lot has changed. Even though I no longer show my love for my mother through sloppy Mother's Day cards and fill-in-the-blank poems, I still possess the same love for her. The young, naive me loves her mother more than anything in the world, as most children do. But as I've grown older, I realize just how special my mother truly is. She's the most intelligent, hardworking, and selfless person I know, and I am the luckiest person in the world to have her as my mother. My mother's ceaseless love for her children is the one thing I admire the most about her. Years ago, she and my father left a country that they were comfortable in to move to a foreign country with a completely new and unfamiliar language, all out of the hopes that their children would have better lives than themselves. My mother did so without a second thought, and she was the one who reassured her friends and family that it was the right choice for the sake of their children. Since then, she has worked hard every single day, taking on the difficult task of building a life for her family so that my brother and I won't have to struggle in the future. She works a high-stress job that requires a lot of attention, and she doesn't always have time to spend with my brother and I, but she shows her love for us through other ways. I remember her taking me to my first ever art class when I was maybe 5 or 6 years old. My mother, being the resourceful woman that she is, had done her research and found a teacher that she trusted, a teacher who unfortunately was an hour away from us. Even though my mother couldn't drive, I remember her picking me up from school every Friday, taking me out to eat, and then taking the subway for a whole hour to class. I still remember how much I loved that art teacher and how much I looked forward to art class every day. She kept this up for years because she knew that in order for me to persevere in art, I had to enjoy doing it, and she was right. Many years later, I'm now starting a business with my art, and I still look forward to art class every single week. And it's all due to my mother's willingness to sacrifice her own time for us. My mother always goes the extra mile for her family, as you can clearly tell. She still takes the time to go to my orchestra concerts at school, and always takes 30 minutes out of her day to read to my brother. Even though we scream at each other occasionally, and I'm not the best daughter sometimes, she still watches out for me, always. I have more love for her than any speech could convey, and after all these years, I still agree with my 7-year-old self. She really is the best mom in the world.